all the unique characters,
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
all the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
OH.
Ayo!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 111 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. And before we get to today's guest, I wanted to remind everyone that Forged in Ohio merch is available, from t-shirts to hoodies to hats. The Forged in Ohio shop truly has it all. You can still use the code LAUNCH10 for 10% off at checkout on all our high-quality items for a limited time. The link to the store is in the description of this episode, or you can find it on all of our social media handles as well. Now, for today's guest, it is the rising star in Ohio MMA, as he's taken the scene by storm at only 20 years old. This South Prospect martial arts product is 4-0 with 4 rear naked choke victories. It's, of course, Jackson Dougherty. Thanks for coming on the show, Jackson, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
My pleasure, man. I'm excited.
Of course, man. We knew this was in the works for a while, and now that you're 4-0, it was about damn time to get you on the podcast. And I debated with myself where I wanted to start, because your career has been very impressive so far, to say the least. And I think we should go all the way back to the very beginning. I know you have a wrestling background, but when were you actually first exposed to combat sports?
Pretty much right out of high school. I really didn't, during wrestling in high school and everything, never really saw myself competing in MMA after that. But then kind of just got into Jiu-Jitsu a little bit, kind of just got the itch for competition again. And once I started doing Jiu-Jitsu, I just fell into doing a little bit of striking, and then figured I should get a fight. So kind of just all was a domino effect from there.
Was there a point when you first started getting into mixed martial arts, I guess Jiu-Jitsu, after high school, that you really realized that this was for you and that you had a passion for it?
Yeah, it was pretty early on. A lot of the guys kind of mentioned it to me that they thought I could do well in MMA right when I started Jiu-Jitsu. Kind of translated with the wrestling. And yeah, pretty much right when I started training was when I realized I wanted to start fighting.
Did stuff like that come naturally to you? Like I said, I know that wrestling background is there, and obviously Jiu-Jitsu is not the same thing, but maybe they complement each other. Did a lot of that come naturally to you, or was there that learning curve that every mixed martial artist, experiences early on?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. I mean, feeling like a complete beginner in something again is just, it's like nothing you could ever experience. So it was awesome to start out.
And I absolutely love asking wrestlers who get into fighting about those early days, especially of striking and boxing. What was it like at first, learning how to stand up and like those type of disciplines that are involved in the sport?
I mean, I still think I'm really new to it. I still walk into the gym sometimes and feel like I don't know how to strike at all. So yeah, it's definitely still feel like a beginner, but very humbling, and it's definitely fun. So I enjoy learning how to strike.
We have to talk about your gym as well, South Prospect Martial Arts. It seems like that gym really has made a name for itself in the last year or so. How'd you get started with Tim Lang and the guys over there at South Prospect?
So my good buddy Jaden Potok, he was actually the one who mentioned this gym to me. He started training about a week before I did. And he was kind of in a similar boat. Like we finished wrestling in high school. We graduated together, and yeah, he was recommended to South Prospect by his boxing coach, and yeah, he went there for about a week and was telling me about it, and sounded like something I'd be into. And yeah, I never looked back. I mean, as soon as I was there, it just felt like a family type atmosphere. Tim's definitely been been a huge motivator for me and helped me a lot in the jiu-jitsu aspect. So, yeah, I love working with these guys and learning from them.
And Tim still competes too, right? In like grappling matches and things like that, or am I wrong on that?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's doing jujitsu all over. I mean, him and I a couple times have gone to other places to do jujitsu, and yeah, he just loves to learn about it and compete and share his knowledge with people. So
I guess how beneficial is that when you have a coach, an instructor who's also involved? Because I know there are older instructors who might put their competition days behind them, but to have somebody who's actively competing in it themselves, and I'm sure he's learning new things, and then he's implementing that into what he's teaching you guys. Just how important is that role that he has in what you guys do?
I would say that's very important that he still competes because it seems like eras of combat change. Like right now, leg locks are real in, and obviously, he hammers the leg locks, so he kind of is able to flow with what's in right now and what people are using, and yeah, him competing, like he still has that fire for competing and learning and everything. So yeah, having a cat that still competes and is just a real student of the game is huge.
So the MMA debut comes around in July of last year, just weeks after your 20th birthday. What encouraged you to actually start fighting at such a young age?
Um, Growing up, I was kind of for some reason I never was really too into wrestling. Like I I enjoyed bits and pieces of it, but eventually I don't know if I was just a little bit burnt out or what was on, but yeah, I never really felt super motivated with it. But then late later in my career, I started to get that fire again a little bit, and then I just felt like I still had some stones left unturned once I graduated, and wanted to channel that into something. And as soon as I started doing MMA, it felt like that was something that I could kind of channel that through. So um, yeah, so really once I started training, I realized I wanted to compete and not leave those stones left unturned. Like I wanted to see how far I could take it. So that's yeah, that's really it.
Would you say that fire is back in you when it comes to MMA? And obviously, this past year, not even a year, 4 fights, 4 wins. I'm sure that fire is in you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing I would rather do than go to the gym and train and just put my body on the line and see how good I can get.
Talking with Jackson Dougherty here on Forged in Ohio. So you won that debut fight in a minute by rear naked choke. I'm sure you were confident going in, but just how validating was it to have that type of performance in your first ever fight?
Um, I mean, it felt great. It was something I'd visualized a lot, and I didn't really have too much of a game plan going in, but it was something that like when you sign a contract that far out and you have that much time to think and prepare, you've thought about every possible thing that could happen, and you make peace with the results. And so I when I sunk that choke in and felt the tap and everything, like it felt like I'd been there before. So it felt great in the moment, but I was prepared to do that.
Were you nervous at all? I mean, that sounded like a very mature answer, not somebody who's only 20 years old with 4 amateur fights. Were you actually nervous going into that debut, or were you as confident as you appeared?
I was as confident as I appeared. I mean, at one point I even got a little bit I almost got nervous that I wasn't nervous. Like I remember making that walk to the cage, and I felt like I was walking to my car in a parking lot. Like I felt so calm and like at peace with whatever was going to happen, and I just knew that the work that I put in and the work that the guys at my gym were putting in with me was going to be enough to get it done. And yeah, so I definitely didn't feel nervous, but just felt prepared.
Man, that mindset is very rare. I feel like I talk to guys who are way older than you, way more experienced, and they still get super stressed and nervous about walking to the cage, and rightfully so. It's something that I personally would never do myself. So, what do you credit that maturity on? Like, is it your past experience wrestling, maybe just the mindset that you come into this sport with? Why are you so dialed in, calm, cool, collective when actually making that walk and competing?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think it's doing the mental things outside of fighting, like just spending time by yourself and just like I said earlier, just going through everything that could happen and knowing like you got to visualize the worst possibilities, the best possibilities, and then just decide what it's going to take for things to go your way, and then just live that for the entire training camp and even outside of training camp. Like I know that no matter what, I'm going to do what it takes to be my best on the night of the fight. So yeah, so I really have no reason to be nervous. I mean, I'm just going to do whatever it takes.
So your second fight took place a few months later in October against Garrett Brown, who I know we both have a lot of respect for Garrett for taking that fight on short notice. But is there anything you can really learn from a 23-second fight like that?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, I had a couple guys that I was looking forward to fighting that kind of dropped through, and so definitely props to Garrett for stepping up. But no, I don't think I learned too much from that, just because I felt like I was ready to test myself with something a little bit different.
If my memory is correct, I believe it was actually Garrett who kind of went in on a takedown and then you kind of reverse position and then got the rear naked choke there. Were you surprised in hindsight that he was the one kind of shooting forward like that and tried to take down you, who of course have had a lot of success in that realm?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but that was one of those fights where it just all happened so quick. And yeah, I remember throwing that right kick, and he kind of just dropped his hands, grabbed and got a hold of my foot, and then I was able to just pull him in with that foot and take the back and get out of there.
All right, now the Jack Shaw fight in December at Cage Thunder 29. I believe you actually had some time to prepare for this one, which was a highly anticipated matchup. What was your mindset going into what was your biggest test yet?
Yeah, so I still think mentally that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I mean, it was just over 9 weeks out when we signed the contract, and obviously when you grow up with somebody and you guys have a lot of mutual friends, you're in the same community, like it's that fight was on my mind 24/7 for over 9 weeks. I mean, so yeah, it was definitely a lot going into that, and I was a bit nervous for that one, but that was one of those moments where it was like peaks and valleys. Like I remember right when I signed the contract, it like didn't even feel real that like that was gonna take place in a couple months, and it was just so yeah, that was definitely crazy. And then yeah, towards as the fight got closer, I got a little bit less nervous, just because I knew I was putting in the work. But yeah, I mean, it still doesn't even feel real that a guy I grew up with and still have a ton of respect for. But yeah, it was definitely cool to go to war like that. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because you and Jack Shaw have such loyal fan bases. And I know on commentary, Alex Henry did a great job of documenting some of the history between the two of you guys. Were you able to really approach it like any other fight, or was there really truly more to it than just that?
There was truly more to it than just a normal fight. I mean, behind the scenes, it seemed like there was a lot going on that just doesn't happen with a normal fight. Like usually, you don't know who you're fighting; you just know their name. And it was also interesting because I think both of us are such raw talents that really watching film wasn't going to be accurate, because I knew that he was going to develop so much as a fighter, which he did, and I knew I was going to develop a lot. And so yeah, it just seemed like we came to the cage with a completely different skill set than we had in fights before. Um, so yeah, it was a big mental battle to prepare for that.
Yeah, I noticed that development that you're talking about between both of you guys that night at the Canton Civic Center as well. I guess just how did you envision that fight would play out? And then did it actually live up to how you envisioned it? Did it play out how you more or less expected it to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big journal taking guy, and for I was saying I was going to finish him in the second round. I mean, I absolutely knew that was going to be the result, and yeah, I was able to execute my game plan, but like I said in my last interview before my last fight, I felt like I had a bit of a flawed game plan. I kind of was a little bit too patient and playing his game. And yeah, looking back at it, that's something I'm gonna be from now on, and just really executing my game plan instead of trying to beat my opponent at their game.
I'm sure there was a lot of adrenaline walking into the cage that night at the Canton Civic Center, and unfortunately there was a complication with the fight before yours that caused you and Jack to be in the cage for a couple minutes before the action could actually start. I loved kind of how it built even more anticipation, but what's going through your mind in those moments?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I couldn't tell you how long it was, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. I have no idea. But um, yeah, I remember we were, in our corners staring each other down, ready to go. Ref walked to the middle of the cage, and then I remember the cage door opening, and they said, "Give it a minute." And so yeah, just it was definitely weird pacing around for who knows how long, knowing that I was gonna fight a guy I grew up with that's standing on the other side of the cage, and I'm hearing his fan base chanting, my fan base chanting. I'm just hearing everything going on. So yeah, it was a bit of a adrenaline dump, but then no, as soon as that cage door locked, it was back in that mindset to go get it.
Because of the respect that you have for Jack and the history between the two of you, the stage, the Canton Civic Center, Cage Thunder 29, all of it, what did that win mean to you, and what did you learn most about yourself that night at the Civic Center?
I would say I learned a lot about myself that night. I mean, I I put a lot of pressure on myself going into that fight. I mean, there was a lot going on that it seemed like that was a fight I needed to win for myself. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure, but man, I just love high pressure situations like that. So I couldn't ask for anything better.
Once again, this is Jackson Dougherty here on Forged in Ohio. Now, your latest fight at Cage Thunder 31 against, or Cage Thunder 30 against Connor Seifert on 2 weeks' notice. What was your reaction when you get that call, you get that text about this new opportunity?
Um, yeah, I remember talking to Eric a couple weeks before that fight, and just random gut feeling. I wasn't planning on fighting that night at all, and just asked him, what 170s or 185s are you guys looking for? And then he mentioned that Seifert's opponent pulled out and that that was available. And yeah, I remember calling my dad right after, and he said take that fight. So I told Eric I'd sleep on it, but yeah, that was crazy because in that situation I had a lot going on, and it seemed like that was the worst time to take a fight, which just made me want to take it even more. Like, so I do roofing, and I have to do these apprentice classes for a whole month. So every day from about 5 a.m. to 4 p.m., I'm out in Youngstown doing that, and then I come back and I'm able to get some training in and everything. So it just seemed like I had a lot on my plate, but I knew that I was able to string together a good 2.5 week training camp, and you know, um, fill my schedule and get it done. That I was going to be able to learn about a lot about myself through that experience. So I'm very fortunate that I had that opportunity and was able to put a lot on my plate and get it done.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Just a 2.5 week training camp alone is crazy, let alone everything else that you had going on in life. Throughout that 2.5 week period, I guess, were there ever moments like you have a rough day, whether it be training, whether it be work, where you're like, man, did I really have to take this fight? Or were you, and we already kind of talked about how mentally strong you were, but were you ever like, man, I should have just passed on this opportunity? Or were you really game throughout that entire period?
Absolutely not. No, there were definitely some tiring days where I just didn't feel like going to training, but I know with my end result in MMA, long-term goals, it's not going to matter if I'm tired. It's going to matter what I was doing on those days where I was tired, because I think things like that just add to mental strength. Like if I don't feel like it and I just skip a training session or something like that, like what am I going to do on fight night when I wake up not feeling good? And I got to be comfortable battling through adversity. So there were definitely tough days, but I knew that those tough days were gonna pay dividends, um, and working. I've been working with a strength coach since I want to say October, Coach Kenny Dussault, and he's definitely helped me a lot. I mean, it seems like even outside of training camps, like he's making sure my cardio is on point, everything's on point, and so yeah, that was a big reason why I felt comfortable taking a fight on such short notice because like I knew that I was gonna stay in shape, and the fight before the Shaw fight, that was just what 6 7 weeks before that last one. So no, I felt like I was in good shape, ready to go, and fortunate that I haven't had an injury in any fight, so I was able to just didn't even seem like I came out of training camp. I finished that Shaw fight, took 2 3 days off, and I was right back in the gym like normal. So taking that short fight, I was ready to go, ready already in shape and ready to just get after it.
We'll talk about the fight itself in a moment, but just the challenge of going through such a short camp and then getting in there against a guy who essentially was booked in a 185 title fight. And I know you're more of a natural welterweight. Just going through that challenge and then coming through with a third round rear naked choke victory, like how much does that boost your confidence of saying, hey, if I can go through that, I can really do a lot in this sport?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does add to it because, yeah, like we were saying before, like knowing that I was able to string together a good camp in that short of a window, definitely just made me more confident for future endeavors. Knowing that even in hard circumstances, I'm going to be able to, you know, show up ready to go on fight night. So yeah, and like you said, he was ready to go for 185, and that's about what I walk around at. So I'm always between 185, 190. So that was also another thing. I was able to take it on short notice because I didn't have to cut any weight. So if that would have been at 170, I don't know if I could have done it, but uh, yeah, it just seemed like the stars aligned for that one. So
Yeah, and it did, and you won via rear naked choke, 2 minutes in the third round. It was the longest fight of your career so far. It looked like you were still fresh even after the finish, but how'd you feel in there?
I felt great. Um, Early on, I noticed I got a little bit fit to the beginning of the fight, and I wasn't totally sure what that was. I think maybe my warm up wasn't the best or something, but yeah, about a minute in, uh, arms felt like they were filling up with blood a little bit, getting a little slow, but then kind of got that second win in the middle of the first round, and then was able to hold that the rest of the fight. After that, I don't think I was breathing heavy or felt any fatigue at any point. So definitely felt fresh. Which so yeah, it was a lot to learn from that fight, but I was glad that that's the way it went. I think I definitely learned a lot, and we'll be able to take some of that going forward.
And that loyal fan base of yours showed up again at Cage Thunder 30. Was there anything different about competing in the main event of a card?
Um, no, I don't. That was something. It just seemed like it all happened so fast. I mean, taking the fight, I'd never really even comprehended that I was going to be the main event. It seemed like just seemed like any other fight. I mean, it was definitely cool though. Walking around before the fight, people knowing who I was and wishing me luck, and I had no idea who they were, but they just knew that I was the main event of the night. So something like that was definitely special. But other than that, I didn't notice too much.
I've kind of been bouncing around it this whole time, but you've won all 4 of your fights by rear naked choke. What is it about your style, I guess, or how'd you develop this knack for getting the same submission in 4 fights?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I know that that's my best position. Tim likes to call me the backpack at our gym, so that nickname is kind of stuck a little bit. But no, I mean it was not my game plan at all. But I like to think of myself as like a pressure fighter. So every fight I've had has gone to the ground, and even when I'm on the ground, I don't just sit still. I mean, I'm trying to pass guard. I'm trying to, make them uncomfortable. So it seems like people are more than willing to give up their back. If they're going to give up their back, that's what's going to happen. So
Man, you're less than a year into your amateur career and you're 4-0, have already headlined a card and have all 4 wins via submission. If I talked to you a year ago today, a couple months before you made your debut, would you have believed me that this year would have played out the way it did, going 4-0 and, like I said, all those accomplishments along with it?
Yeah, I think so. I think right around when I first realized I wanted to fight, which was not long before I accepted my first fight, I probably got, let's think, I trained for a year before taking my first fight. I probably knew about 6 months in that that's where I saw myself going. So from that point on, I mean, some would say it's a little delusional, but I think it's only delusional if you're not going to do what you say you're doing. So um, no, so yeah, I would have expected this to be the result.
Being as active as you are, do you ever take time to enjoy these wins, these performances, or are you always on to what's next?
Um, I would say I take time to enjoy wins, but I do that in the gym. I mean, it seems like that's where I'm happiest, and that's where I'm most comfortable. So after a win, I mean, next morning I was at the gym hitting a workout and then ready to go for practice. So yeah, I just enjoy just constant improvement.
Is there anything better than a workout the morning after an amateur MMA win?
No, and I mean I was just blessed to be able to wake up feeling good. I mean, um, zero injuries, nothing nagging. So definitely fortunate that I was able to just.
So I'm sure you've already given some thought to what's next, what's ahead of you right now. You're now 4-0 as an amateur fighter. So what does the future look like for Jackson Dougherty?
I'm hoping to get a fight in April for Cage Thunder, obviously, and who knows if the the right opponent pops up, I'm more than willing to take it. But if I gotta wait till June or August, I'm ready for whatever. So yeah, just gonna be doing a lot of grappling in the meantime. I'm doing the Arnold this coming weekend, so hoping to do well in that. And yeah, so I just stay ready, and I think it's because of that staying ready mentality I'm able to, take short notice fights and jump at opportunities, which a lot of people who take time to enjoy wins, I guess, they don't really get that opportunity, because I know some people, when they don't even have a fight scheduled, they're not really pushing themselves in the gym trying to get better every day. So um, yeah, I'm fortunate that I have a great group of guys at South Prospect that it's you couldn't tell who's in a camp, who's not. It just seems like everybody is pushing themselves, just trying to get better. So yeah, I'm definitely grateful that I'm able to stay ready and jump at opportunities.
Yeah, staying ready is so important, especially when you're as young as you are, just starting off, like I said, not even a year into your amateur career. And you've already seen some of the benefits of just being ready, getting into these fights, main eventing a card just this month. So, how important is it just to be active and stay ready always? Not only because, again, these opportunities come up and you can take advantage of them, but also just your personal growth, because I'm sure the Jackson Dougherty I'm talking to right now is a whole lot different from the one a year ago, just in terms of how much you've grown as your skills develop.
I think it's extremely important. I mean, I think in competition is when you learn the most, whether that's jiu-jitsu, MMA, whatever. So um, even though I'm only 20 right now, it just seems like I have no reason. If I'm not taking damage, I got no reason to not be looking for what's next. I mean, I'm going to take the necessary precautions. If I have an injury, what have you, then I'm going to take whatever time I need. But that hasn't happened yet, so I have no reason to not just keep training and looking to compete.
All right, last one, man. How high is the ceiling for you in mixed martial arts?
I don't think there is a ceiling. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on my own just thinking about what I want to take out of this sport and where I want to end up. And I think I'm willing to do what a lot of other people aren't doing. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, but I truly mean that. And Yeah, so I'm gonna just keep competing, doing what I do, and we're gonna see where it takes me.
I love that answer, man. Before we wrap up, I just want to give you the opportunity here to shout out or mention anything you want to on Forged in Ohio, man. You can take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely want to thank my teammates again. They've prepared me in every way, and just their growth based mindset has definitely rubbed off to me and helped me get to where I am. And definitely want to thank my girlfriend as well. Just celebrated her birthday, which was nice, and she's been a huge motivator for me. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now without her constant support. So that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jackson, for joining the show. It's been a blast following your career and having the honor of being on commentary throughout it as well. And before I let you go, I'll do the infamous OHIO chant with all my guests here on the podcast. So, OH.
IO.
Thanks, Jackson. I appreciate the time. Congrats on the main event win at Cage Thunder 30, and I can't wait to witness your continued rise in the sport.
Thank you, man. It was nice to be on here.
That was Jackson Dougherty, the 4-0 amateur mixed martial artist. And I guess you could call Jackson a prospect since he's only 20 years old, but I think he's more of a proven commodity. We've talked about the undefeated record, we've talked about those submission wins, but what he does actually in the cage is just so damn impressive. I suggest you jump on his hype train now while you still have time and check him out on social media with all the links in the description below. You'll also find the Forged in Ohio social media channels. All those links are in the description as well. You can find the show on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Forged in Ohio. And as I said in the intro, you can find the link to the podcast shop there as well. Check all that out. Use code LAUNCH10 for 10% off at checkout for a limited time. And thank you all for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.